Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!
Oh, you stupid motherfucker!
You're gonna find me dead! I'm gonna kill myself!
Hit the fucking guy! What the fuck is he doing?
I'm gonna be hanging from the bathroom!
They got their leg!
Don't ask me to do nothing! This is nothing!
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Steel Here podcast, where I'm your host, Kevin Adams, alongside my partner in crime, Jersey Jerry, and Jerry Don. The boys went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and took over the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, the fans and the team dominated. 2 in a row, Jerry. What do you know?
Yep, 2 in a row. I mean, team looked good. Kenny looked good. Sorry. Kevin Adams, Jersey Jerry. Let's do some takeaways from the game right away. I'll tell you what, I loved the offense. Defense made some big stops. Shout out to Connor Heyward, first ever touchdown. Kudos to him. One thing I will say, though, is this, which I'm very disappointed in. This has been the story all year long. Can't score touchdowns inside the red zone. They just don't.
No.
They just don't. You know, every time they're driving good, and then the ball gets to the 20, field goals. That ain't gonna keep up. I mean, you're gonna lose games that way.
And that's my fear, is that between the 20s, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they look like they could win a fucking Super Bowl, Jerry. I mean, between the 20s, we move the ball efficiently. It's nice. It's you know, the run game dominated a good bit on Sunday. It's just the most frustrating part about what is happening is it's not even so much the play calling, which is still dog shit. Matt Canada will never get a pass from me, and he doesn't deserve one, so nobody's going to be able to defend the guy. But it's a lot of just small shit that we do wrong. It's penalties. We take a lot of penalties when we get inside the red zone. Big play followed by a false start or a holding or, you know, some stupid
guy downfield.
Yes. It's still a lot of that little shit. We're getting better though. This is not going to be a down show. For those listening, we have won 2 games in a row, and I'm starting to get a little bit excited about it again. And there's a lot of good things. Jerry, on Sunday, Kenny Pickett yet again is improving, and he's looking better again every single week, Jerry.
Yeah, no, listen. I really feel I can say this, and I don't care what comes of it. I think the Steelers found their guy at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they need a bunch more pieces, but I feel like they found their guy at quarterback. I think it was the right move all the way around. You know, people were high on Malik Willis. You know, the little bit he's played this year, he's looked horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think they drafted the right guy. I think they drafted the most NFL-ready guy. I think they drafted a winner, a competitor, and a guy who's just going to fight to the very end. I'm happy. Today, I could wake up and say, you know, I'm happy where the Steelers are at quarterback.
And there are some people in the Steelers media. Do you know who Mark Madden is, Jerry? Do you know who Mark Madden is?
I know who he is. Yeah, you put me on to him. I'm familiar with him now a little bit.
He's a fucking hater. This guy is a fucking hater. And here's what pisses
fat
me
fucking
off.
slob. I'll punch him in his face if I see him.
Yeah, well, he'll say you wouldn't. He'll say you would not. That's his shtick. He'll say you won't.
Fuck him.
He tweeted something yesterday. And it was a slight to Kenny. And basically he said, I'm not sure.
I seen this. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure where we're seeing improvement from Kenny Pickett here. I'm going to find this tweet because this pissed me off. I mean, I don't have any idea, you know, why he's so upset about what Kenny is doing. But he said, I just have no idea why Steelers fans are so excited about Kenny. He has 4 touchdowns in, 8 games or whatever it is. It's not like he's playing phenomenally. I'm going to read you some statistics about Kenny Pickett, and you can shove this right up Mark Madden's ass because the guy, when we first threw him in there, yes, his first couple of games, he looked shoddy. He forced the ball. He tried to make some crazy plays downfield, which you're going to get when you're a quarterback coming in as a rookie. You have a lot of gunslinger mentality.
Yeah,
sometimes you have to be humbled. Okay, you got to be humbled. In the last 5 games, after Kenny gets his footing, through those first 3 games, the Bills games, the Jets game where he came in, and then the Bucs game that he got knocked out of. Eagles, Saints, Bengals, Indy, Atlanta. Passer rating, 76.7, 79.7, 85.9, 87.5, and 90.9.
Those are great stats.
Jerry.
Those shut up a fucking fat slob motherfucker, fucking paper pusher like Mark Madden.
I don't. What else do you want? And is winning not a statistic that you have any value in looking at?
Yeah, no, you're right. No, you're spot on. What does this guy do? He said he writes articles, right? He's an article guy, beat
He,
writer
wri-
or something.
he writes for
But
the
is he like?
Trib.
I'm familiar with him now because you put him on to me. He's like the source when it comes to Steelers football.
I mean, he doesn't get many interviews with the Steelers because the team doesn't fucking like the guy. I'm pretty confident in saying that he shits on a lot of the Steelers players. You know, he shits all over. But he's the highest paid shock jock in Pittsburgh radio, so he talks a ton of shit, and you know he calls all the other writers like Pony and you know those guys that you talk to. He calls them the B team, and I mean I'm not a big fan of any of the shock jock media in Pittsburgh, but Mark Madden is a dick. He's a dick about the Steelers. He's a fucking asshole. And this is one of those things when I read that, I'm like, why
Is he like a
fucking
fan?
hating
Is
his
he a
arms?
fan or no?
I don't know. He's from Pittsburgh. Allegedly, he's been born and raised in Pittsburgh, but he talks so much shit that it's hard for me to tell whether or not he's a fan. But there are other fans that, you know, liked it and commented under it or, you know, retweeted it, whatever they said about it, is that, you know, Kenny just doesn't show the flashes of being a great quarterback. What the fuck do we want, guys?
Yeah.
He's 3-2 in his last
Well,
five.
you know what they
improving
want?
every week.
They want 42 to 7 wins every week. That's what they want.
I don't give a shit if it's 3-0. A win is a win. And Kenny came out after the game and he said something I loved. He said, I don't care if we have to win ugly the whole way to the Super Bowl. You know, because at the end of the day, would you rather have a quarterback that throws 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, but you fucking lose? Or a guy who throws for $197, protects the football, you know, we don't turn the ball over and we win the game. Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about stats, Sherry.
Yeah, no, I don't. I can care less either. As long as we're winning football games, we've been doing that the last couple of weeks. Seems like the offense is clicking a little bit as of late. I pointed to it a couple weeks back. I said it. I mean, this guy Pickens, all-star talent. Could be one of the best in the business moving forward. This guy's a space cadet. He's on Pluto. When it comes to the game time, his head isn't in the game. I feel like he thinks that every route he runs, he has to get the ball. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think there's a different way to approach it and I love George Pickens, but there's a different way to approach it than throwing your helmet, kicking your helmet on the sideline, screaming, throw me the fucking ball. There's a different way to go about that. And he's young, so he'll hopefully understand later in the season. But he's a ticking time bomb. I mean, he's ready to explode.
And what's funny is, Jerry, you've been saying this since like week 2. I mean, since week 2, George Pickens is going to have a fucking meltdown out there.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see it. There's some chinks in his armor starting to shine through. But Tomlin come out today and said he'd rather say, he'd rather, tell him to calm down than sick him. You know what I mean? He'd rather reel the guys in than have to encourage them to go out and have that mentality. And so,
yeah, that's true, though.
Young guy, obviously at Georgia, got a ton of looks, number 1 wide receiver. It's hard to be angry at him for wanting the ball, but it's so early in his career. It's concerning that he feels entitled enough to just be like, you guys should be fucking getting me the ball, every week. It's scary right now, but Mike Tomlin knows how to deal with the diva wide receivers. He did keep Antonio Brown, in check for many years when we didn't know all the shit AB was doing behind the scenes. So I have faith that they'll keep George Pickens under control. And I really do think George Pickens will have a big game this week now, because this is the squeaky wheel always gets the oil, Jerry. Look at what the Steelers do. They're going to feed him the ball now. Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing I will say is this. I think you're right about the Steelers, that they shouldn't have drafted Najee in the first round. I stand by what you said. I stand by that. But he's been playing very good. So I want to give credit where credit's due. He's been running hard. He's been hitting the holes. He's been breaking tackles. He's been playing physical. So quick little shout out to Najee. He's been doing his thing. Did I think the draft pick, like you said, was a little early? I think so still. But, he's playing really good. Yeah, I mean, we look like geniuses whenever the run game sucks and Najee sucks, and it makes a ton of sense, and it's easy to cut the guy down at that point. But you're absolutely right. On Sunday, Najee Harris set the tone for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it started early. It started on the first drive. He was running like a bad fucking man. I mean, with power, angry running. First guy was not taking Najee Harris down on Sunday in Atlanta. And so that's the Najee that we saw for large portions of last season that we haven't seen hardly at all this year until the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Run game has really gotten it going, Jerry, and it leads me to
Yeah.
that's the Pittsburgh Steelers' identity now. We are a
Oh yeah.
ground and pound
Smash
football
football.
team.
Yeah. Smash the football. Protect the football. Kenny's not going to throw for 300. He's going to throw for around 200 yards. He's protecting the ball. He's not. Doesn't he not have interception or a turnover since the bye? Is that true?
Yes, correct.
Pretty good. That's pretty damn good. I mean, that's a recipe to win.
And this is what we said early in the season. If the Steelers were going to be good, it was going to have to come down to controlling the line of scrimmage. The run game was going to have to dominate because you want to develop Kenny slowly, let him see some things. One of the most exciting things about Sunday's game, aside from the run game just being absolutely dominant, I'm going to go over some stats from the game because it gets me excited that at least we know our identity. Last week we talked to Alex and he's like, it's hard to figure out what this team's identity is, but we were starting to shift towards becoming a running first football team. It's just early in the year, the line fucking blew. The running backs weren't hitting the right holes. Najee came out of the gates really slow. So it was easy to say, oh, the run game sucks. Let's abandon it. But we went through that stretch of Buffalo and Philadelphia and Kenny's throwing the ball 50 times.
Yeah.
And you heard Bill Cowher say, you can't do it. Can't have it. You need to stick with the run game even if it's failing. And they have since then.
Yeah.
What Kenny did on Sunday for me that was the most exciting of everything we have seen so far this season was he's going through his progressions big time, Jerry.
Yeah.
And you can see it in real time. On the first drive of the game, he's looking off to the right side. He's looking for Deontay Johnson. It's not there. Immediately, and this is a third and 4. Immediately looks back, entire opposite side of the field, sees Freiermuth, bang, hits him with a dart. He's knowing now quickly, as quickly as you need to in the NFL. He's seeing it's not there. Move on to the next read.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett is fucking really performing well, and that's why I'm getting more and more pissed every time people are like, he's not the guy. And the touchdowns, Jerry, they're gonna fucking come. It's the excitement that he's giving us out of that.
They're gonna come. They're gonna come. Listen, people forget this offense is really young, man. They're really, really young squad. Maybe they're getting hot at the right time. People say, oh, they're playing bad football teams and whatnot. Listen, Falcons are not a good football team. Their defense isn't good. Their offense isn't good. But at the end of the day, they're professionals. So I give credit to Kenny. But like the touchdowns will come. This team's young. They're just getting started. Maybe they're just feeling something. Maybe they're just starting to click a little bit. So you never know.
Well, I mean, in real time, you see Kenny early in the game. He has Freiermuth, and so I was pretty lit up on Sunday. The terrible tailgate, absolute blast. The atmosphere in Atlanta was a blast. We had something like 500 people come to the tailgate, so it was a shit show, man. And I did some Kenny bongs. I did a Kenny bong with Jeff Reed. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
He let me put on the rings, did a Kenny bong. It felt
He's
good.
another guy that's on Pluto, Space Cadet, that guy.
Oh, that guy's a lunatic, Jerry.
Yeah,
he is a party boy, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. When I look at him, I think of Chris Pontius. I don't know why.
The party boy. He is the party boy, Jerry.
Yeah.
So and you know what's funny? I got not to sidetrack the conversation, but I was asking him about the paper towel thing, all those years ago. And someone took a paper towel dispenser down there and he signed it for them.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's
and
hilarious.
He's like, hey man, I was partying. We were celebrating it was a great season. I don't give a shit. I made a mistake. It happens when you're drinking. So
that's funny.
But no, he's a good dude. But circling back, the atmosphere was great. And so I'm kind of lit up and Kenny misses that throw early to Freiermuth.
Yeah.
The touchdown. I mean, it's
the seam, right down the seam, right? Yep.
Yes. If he takes a hair off of it and floats the ball just a little bit, it's a touchdown. And he's missed that throw a few times for us. And it's, in that moment, I'm thinking like, okay, he makes a lot of the right plays, but some of these that are wide open touchdowns, he's missing, and that one he just threw a fucking heater on.
Yeah.
However, follows it up in the second quarter, takes a little off of it, has Connor Heyward running down the right seam and hits him.
Yep.
In the same game, he misses the one throw, he makes the second one because he realizes I don't have to fucking make every one of these a rocket. I can take some air out of it and feather it in there to them.
Oh yeah.
He's learning quickly, Jerry. He's learning quickly. And for Steelers fans that are still not there yet, you're going to get left behind. And next season, you're going to have to ride the Kenny train hard because I think next year the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be competitive, very competitive, very competitive.
Kenny second year on his belt. Yep, Pickens another year. Offensive line. Listen, I wouldn't mind if they kept the offensive line together. Maybe switch out. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Dan Moore, but maybe make one move on the offensive line. Keep that group together because I mean they're pretty damn good, man. They're not as bad as people say.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that at the beginning of the season, preseason, we're worried the line is going to be, an Achilles heel. How good can
Yeah.
it be? James Daniels had a terrible preseason, comes back, and now he's electric. The offensive line is steady right now when it comes to the run game. Dan Moore,
Yeah.
I agree. I would probably get a left tackle if we could. I would
Yeah.
probably look at left tackle if possible, or Dotson. One of those two guys. The left side of
Yeah.
our line needs some love.
Yeah.
So we can't entirely gloss over the line just because they're having a good stretch here against some bad football teams, because I want to see them go against an elite defensive line again and continue to keep this momentum rolling.
Well, they're going to get tested this week coming up. I mean, Ravens defense is pretty okay. They're pretty decent. They're pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Yeah,
physical.
they
That
get
kid,
after it.
I think, is the best safety in coverage, I think, this year. That kid, Kyle Hamilton,
Yep.
that they drafted. I think he is the best safety in coverage this year in the NFL.
And he fell to them. And the Kyle Hamilton pick, bummed me out because I was ready to move on from Terrell Edmonds. I was ready to move
Yeah.
on. I loved the Kyle Hamilton coming out of Notre Dame. I thought he was a
Yep.
stud. So I would have loved to see the Steelers get him. Of course, he goes to the fucking Ravens. We have to watch him have a great career. But,
Yeah.
Coming back to the line, they will have their hands full. But I'm going to read you again some stats about how excited I am that the Steelers have found their identity. And it is in the run game. And it has resulted in 3 wins out of our last 5 games and 2 in a row here. So early in the season, the Steelers went from Buffalo to Tampa to Miami, 54 rushing yards, 77 rushing yards, 95 rushing yards. That would have had us in the bottom 7 rushing teams in the league.
Yeah.
Terrible. Those are bad numbers. Since the Philadelphia game, 144 yards against the Eagles, 217 against the Saints, 102 against the Bengals, 172 against Indy, and 154 against Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're averaging in those last 5 games 158 rushing yards a game, which would put them second in the NFL.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a great number.
Hats off to the offensive line.
Okay.
First year coach on the offensive line for the Steelers. A lot of turnover. Mason Cole's hobbled. That guy's out there beating ass every week. James Daniels settled in. Chuck's got paid. Hats off to them. And to Najee Harris for all the hate and all the shit he has gotten, and play Jaylen Warren. If this is the Najee Harris that he can be, that we know he's capable of, and that's why I get so pissed whenever he can't do it all the time, the Pittsburgh Steelers are set on offense if they can get one more piece maybe on that line, and Kenny can continue to progress, because Freiermuth is a freak, Jerry.
Yeah, he's an excellent tight end. I mean, listen, he's not a Travis Kelce. He's not a Mark Andrews, but I'll tell you what, there's those guys, and then the next tier, Pat Freiermuth is in that next tier, man.
Yeah, right on the cusp. And here's the thing: you're comparing Pat Freiermuth to Travis Kelce and to Mark Andrews, who have been in the league a few years and have found their rhythm. Freiermuth, this is year 2, and he's now finding his rhythm, Jerry. And I'm really excited about what he's doing, because on third down, he is an absolute playmaker for us. That is Kenny's guy on third down. That's a safety security blanket, and he's catching everything on third down and converting them for first downs.
Oh yeah, listen, I bought stock in Pat early. I mean, I just seen it coming right out of college. Played a couple games early in the season. I said, I got to be friends with this guy. I got no choice. So I invested in him early.
Right. And I mean, coming out of Penn State, obviously I knew he was a stud. So when we took him, that's a huge pick. I'm hype as shit about it. But now to see him put it forward on the field, that play where he catches that ball, gets banged twice, and then Gunner's standing there, doesn't know, is he coming back to block, or is he running downfield to block? Yeah, breaks 2 tackles and then, turns it into a 40-yard catch and run.
Yeah, dude. If
we can get Pat Freiermuth to be Heath Miller 2.0, and I think he might be slightly more athletic than Heath Miller.
I think, listen, this might be a hot take. If he stays in Pittsburgh his whole career, he'll go down better than Heath Miller.
Very well could.
People might not like that take, but I just see it.
Comes back to the quarterback play. Heath did have Big Ben slinging him the rock during the peak of Ben's career, at the height of his game. So let's hope that is what Kenny is going to give to Pat. But
I'll tell you what, if they're together for 10 years, 12 years, I mean, gotta love it.
could run some numbers up, because look how dominant the Chiefs are with Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
and Travis Kelce, and look how dominant Mark Andrews is with Lamar Jackson. When you have an elite tight end that can body all the smaller corners, and they, coming out of the slot, and sometimes you don't even know if they're blocking, so they get covered off often. You know what I mean? Where it's linebackers that can't keep up with them, and they're not big enough to contend with them. Pat Freiermuth is finding his way for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Friend of the show, very nice guy. Really appreciate that he's starting to show out.
Hell yeah.
Jerry, last week we called out Cam Heyward, and we said that maybe he's starting to fall off a little bit. We were unsure, is Father Time undefeated? Is he coming for him? And what does Cam Heyward do on Sunday? Had the best game of his season.
Yeah, just bullied everybody. Love to see it. I mean, listen, I feel like you're going to get weeks like that with him, I'm not as worried, actually, and this, I think a lot of people in Pittsburgh would agree with this. I'm starting to get a little bit worried that TJ Watt came back a little bit too fast. He doesn't seem like he's 100%. I mean, you see him grimacing a little bit sometimes after a play, especially that one play where it was late in the game, and he took an angle and then he tripped up the guy. The guy got a first down, but he tripped him up in the backfield. He ended up getting a first down, and he came up and he was just gassed, bro. Yeah, he was so gassed.
I know the play that you're talking about, and there's a very similar one that I want to highlight. And I'm gonna have our producer Nick put this up on the screen, this play specifically, because TJ bangs the edge really hard, crashes it, hits Patterson, starts to trip him up, and then Ogunjobi just fucking buries him. So it was stopped for a loss, like a 2-yard loss. But you see TJ down on one knee, and he's either holding his wrist or he's holding his ribs. I couldn't tell, but you'll see.
Well, he was dealing with some rib problems coming into the game.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely seeing it. And so I'm not concerned that TJ Watt's not putting up crazy numbers, in the sack department, but he's definitely not 100%. And you can tell that he's not 100%. So it comes back to, that's why I was so excited to see Cam Heyward step back up and do what he did. He had the sack where he just bull rushed the shit out of the left guard. And then he takes him down. But then to win the game, Cam Heyward again steps up in there and bull rushes the center into Mariota, and then Mariota forces the throw that make a picks.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'd really like to get that guy Larry Ogunjobi back next year. Oh yeah, I really would. I would 100%. Love to, because Alualu's done, right? I mean, he's getting. I mean, I don't want to kick nobody when they're down, but I mean, he's just. He's like a smart car going against a bus.
Yeah,
he's just getting crushed every play.
And if you guys haven't followed Alex yet from last week's episode, you should, because he put out like 3 tweet rundown of plays where Alualu was just getting, thrown, physically thrown in the air. I mean, all his cleats are off the ground. He's getting thrown.
I didn't even see it. I gotta see it.
and it's tough to see. Like, I felt bad watching it because he's a big boy, former first-round pick, but he's just getting it bullied in there.
Yeah, he's old now, man. He's just beaten down. He's just, I don't know. Sometimes when I watch him, I just say, this it's tough to watch. He's just getting bulldozed every play.
Yeah, he's done. So Ogunjobi would be, in the offseason, he's the number one guy I would love to re-sign. Undoubtedly, the number one guy I would love to re-sign.
I'd love that.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that are exciting and things that I'm looking forward to now the rest of the way, because Jerry, 4 weeks ago we were cooked. Season is fucking cooked. But now, no Lamar Jackson coming to town with the Ravens on Sunday. You're gonna get Huntley coming back to Pittsburgh. The Steelers can reel off. This would be their 3rd in a row, and then not to look too far ahead, but you have a bad Panthers team, and then you have a pretty bad Raiders team.
Yeah, they're dinged up bad, the Raiders.
Oh, yeah. We can get this thing to 8-7 with going back to Baltimore, and then the final game of the season being the Browns at home.
Yeah, I don't want to look too far ahead like you said, but the Steelers, let's say they win back-to-back games, right? Mm-hmm. The Raiders got a beaten up Rams team this week, Thursday Night Football. I don't know who they play next. If them two both win their next 2 games, they play on Christmas Eve, no?
Yes, they do.
And that is going to be a very, very, very big game with some playoff implications. I'll tell you that much.
If the Steelers can beat the Ravens on Sunday, if we can get this done against Baltimore on Sunday, the Raiders play the Rams, then they play the Patriots, and then they come to town to play the Steelers.
Yep.
They got the 49ers and the Chiefs to finish.
Yeah.
They ain't beating the 49ers and they ain't beating the Chiefs.
No.
So, I really think the Steelers could
Wait,
jump
what did you
over
say?
them.
The Raiders?
Raiders have the to end the season,
Mm-hmm.
they have the Niners and the Chiefs.
Gotcha. Yeah, those are two really tough games. They probably won't win those.
Tough games. And then you look at who are the other teams that we're going against. The Patriots schedule.
Patriots, yeah.
So you're looking at the New England Patriots have Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills.
Whoa.
Right? It's a fucking gauntlet for them to end.
Gauntlet.
The Steelers have a chance here to sneak into the 7th seed. It's crazy. Let's win on Sunday, and then next week I'll really start to get excited because
Chargers we got to worry about too a little bit.
Yep. I mean, 6-6 though, they're struggling. They just lost to the Raiders. You know, there are some teams that a month and a half ago, we would have said there's no way the Steelers can catch them. And then here we are, possibly can run off, 4 or 5 in a row. And then we're right back in it going into week 18.
Yep.
And then we're fucking nervous again, Jerry.
The thing that pisses me off the most is, games like those Jets game, games like the Patriots game, even like the Bengals game. I'll even throw them in there as well. Yep. You wish you can go back and just do something different and win those games because those are games at the end of the year. If the Steelers don't make the playoffs, if they're like a game back, you say to yourself, those games in the beginning of the year where you're supposed to win, even the Browns game, where you're supposed to win and you don't win, it comes back to haunt you.
Yep, and it sucks. And the one thing I'll say, I love that we're winning. I fucking love that we're winning. To leave Atlanta yesterday and to be able to wear Steelers shit through the airport and not have to, hang my head in shame, let them fucking hear it. It was nice, 2 in a row, and we're back in it. Two things I don't want to see. I don't want to see us go 8-9 and then have another shitty draft pick or go 9-8 and still miss the playoffs and still get a shitty draft pick. But I don't want to see any of these things that are happening result in Matt Canada being able to keep his job because it feels like we're improving. Because we're still not improving when it comes back to scoring in the red zone and things that I just don't think Matt Canada is capable of fixing because, he's just proven enough times that he is just not good enough to do it. We got coached again second half, though.
Yeah, he did. If I was to go back, if I had a one takeaway for the whole season, let's say the Steelers missed the playoffs by one game. One takeaway I would have at the end of the season would be, I wish Kenny started from day one.
Yeah.
Because there's games, 3-4 games into the year, the Jets game, the Browns game after that. Those are games you can go back and say, well, Kenny already had 2-3 games under his belt. The nerves were gone by then. You know what I mean?
Game.
So, who knows? Yeah, you wish you had that experience. I know it was tough to just throw him out there to the Wolves like that, but they knew they knew Mitch's ceiling. They didn't know Kenny's ceiling.
Right.
You drafted him 20 overall. You got to play him. And one takeaway I'll have at the end of the year, if we miss the playoffs by a game or whatever the case may be, I'll say to myself, I wish we'd thrown Kenny in there from day one.
Right. And it's easy. It's easy for us to sit up here and say that now in hindsight, 2020 as it stands. But I agree with you. I think if he would have played sooner, because me being able to read to you that he's improved every single week, passer rating over the last 5 games, had we gotten some of those early kinks out of the way, we would have been more able to win, the games that you're discussing. The Patriots game, the Jets game, possibly the Browns game, the Dolphins game. He might not have made that late game mistake. So those are all things that we can always look back and say, well, what if? Yeah. But what is realistic is the Pittsburgh Steelers are not dead and we do have a chance. And it's just fucking exciting to be able to talk about it. It was grueling through the middle of the season. I'm like, Jerry, this sucks. I fucking hate talking about it when we lose. I don't even like reading Twitter. I don't like fucking losing.
I know. Yeah, no, it was tough. But listen, man, I just want this team to go on their little run. Get a chip in a chair. That's all you got. It's all you could ask for. A chip in a chair by the end of the season. You see the Bengals were not a good team last year.
No.
8 weeks into the season, they were an average football team, maybe even a little bit below average. They just went on a crazy run. They just gelled at the right time. They stayed healthy. Yeah, they have Joe Burrow at quarterback. He's elite. Let's face the facts. Jamar Chase, he's elite. But they got hot at the right time, man. They don't have no. I mean, there's a couple guys, but they don't have no super fucking stars on defense.
Not on D. No, not
You know
on
what
D.
I mean?
And that's why there were some people. So I tweeted today. I'm like, yeah, we're not dead. Like, there's some life here. Won't it be so fitting that Mike Tomlin ends up getting this thing back to 9-8?
Crazy, bro.
I'll shut the fuck up. If we make the playoffs, I will shut the fuck up as long as he gets rid of Matt Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as he gets rid of Matt Canada, I'll lay off Mike Tomlin here. However, if we keep Matt Canada and we still miss the playoffs and he comes back, it's just unacceptable to me. But you're absolutely right. If we get hot, there were people that were in my mentions like, oh, they make the playoffs and then what? They get pounded in the first round. Look, I understand we haven't had great playoff winning history in the last, 6-7 years, but that doesn't mean you just don't want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't want to fucking go and continue to see, one way or another, they either win or you have more reason to say that Mike Tomlin sucks. One way or another, I want to go to the playoffs.
Who doesn't want to watch January football? Your own team. You know what I mean?
Right. And also, don't you want to see Kenny get some fucking playoff experience?
Of course. His first year would be excellent.
Absolutely. Ben goes first year. He didn't play great against the Jets. We ended up winning, had the 1 seed, had the bye week. So we play in the divisional round against the Jets, end up winning in, the field goal kickoffs as far as that went. And then the Patriots beat our ass in the title game. But we came back and ran the fucking table the next year. I would rather see Kenny at least get a look at the fucking thing.
Exactly.
Jerry, there was a moment after the game where Cam Heyward gave his press conference. And I don't know if you saw this, where he got a little choked up. He got emotional. He said that he and his brother Connor ended up going to his father's grave site. His dad, obviously played for the Falcons, Ironhead Heyward. So the boys were raised in Georgia. So for Connor Heyward to come out and get his first touchdown as a Pittsburgh Steeler in the NFL, and he did it on a play that looked damn near identical to his dad scoring his first touchdown.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
You saw Alex tweeted that one.
Yep. I've seen that one.
To do those
I wish we had this information before the game. If I knew all this stuff before the game, the grave, all this stuff, I would have smashed him for a touchdown.
Oh, 100%. And he was like plus 5 something to score. So like, it would have made sense. So they have that moment and then he scores his first touchdown. To me, that is why Connor Heyward is my all heart player of the week this week, is because that's got to be deep, man. That's got to be fucking deep. Not only are you there with your brother who plays on the same football team that you do, his mother was born and raised a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So she loves the Steelers. So it's, you know what I mean? It's not as though this is new for them to enjoy Steelers football. To do that, to go in there, all of that extra mental baggage that you're carrying, and then to go out, and he played a great fucking game. He was one of the highest PFF scored players for the Steelers. Yep. Hats off to him. That is all heart. Again, that's all heart stuff. If you can turn a negative into a positive like that, it reminds me of, remember when Brett Favre's old man passed away on Monday Night Football, and then he went out and played a few hours later and lit it up, threw for 4 touchdowns, went fucking bananas. Yep. There are just some guys that have the right mentality, that are wired the right way mentally to be able to turn a negative into a positive. Connor Heyward, that was impressive as hell to me, especially hearing that come out of Cam after the game and Cam be emotional about it. Hats off. To me, that is what the all heart player stands for. So I couldn't have been more happy to know that than after the fact.
Yeah, mine is my all heart player of the week. It's gonna come from a very, very different type of angle. This is Matthew Wright. This is Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, this guy. I mean, listen, he's doinking them, but they're going in, and that's all that matters. I mean, he made a couple big kicks, couple long kicks. Oh yeah, Sunday afternoon. So hats off to him. I mean, stepping up for one of the best, I'll say, top 2 kicker in the league. Chris Boswell goes down. He's on IR. And he steps up to the plate. I think his first field goal attempt a miss.
Yeah, it was.
And I think has he missed after that?
He hasn't missed another one since.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we need to win football games. We need as many points as possible because, offense struggles inside the red zone. So he has to be clicking on all the cylinders. He did an excellent job. And listen, this coming week up, if he misses some kicks, he'll get bashed. I got no problem bashing him.
Right.
But that's my all-hard player of the week. Matthew Wright stepped up to the plate and made some big kicks. some kicks that decided who won the football game.
No doubt about it. I mean, we won by a fucking field goal. It's not
Yeah.
like we blew them out of the water. We should have blown them out of the water for how
Yeah.
often we were getting into the red area and just couldn't finish. But we didn't. Yet again, in the second half, the Pittsburgh Steelers just did not finish a game. And again, guys, that's coaching. And I say this very often on here. I hope you're starting to finally pay attention to it. It is coaching. Matt Canada is inept. He is not capable of making the proper adjustments. That's why the offense looks very good in the first half, and in the second half they can't fucking get a thing going because teams are just better at out scheming him because he's a bonehead. This guy's a fucking idiot. So again, yes, you're absolutely right. Without Matt Wright being able to get it going and to hit some long kicks and then doink it off the pipes yet again, if those don't go in, the Steelers, we're looking at this from a much different lens. So he held down the ship while Chris Boswell was out. And that is all heart. It's guys doing their job that don't get any love or appreciation, but they do their fucking job. Absolutely appreciate Matt Wright for the all heart this week. Jerry, we hit on this earlier. We hit on this player, but you had said something. You said he's not Travis Kelce and he's not Mark Andrews, but he's close. My tweet of the week is again kind of come back to Pat Freiermuth.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Valente, stats guy, Daniel was his handle. He said most 70-plus yard games by a tight end this season. Number 1 is Travis Kelce at 7. Number 2, Pat Freiermuth with 5. If Travis Kelce is the only guy ahead of you, then you know you're doing something right. Steelers have a stud in Freiermuth.
Wow, love it. Great.
Couldn't be more spot on because you can dominate games with the tight end position. You can dominate games with the tight end position. And I look back at what you had when you had Tom Brady dominating with Gronk and Hernandez. So if you can get the quarterback to tight end connection to click, it's gonna help. It's gonna help George Pickens. It's gonna help Deontay Johnson because anytime you have Freiermuth who's in the middle of the field, you're gonna get somebody that's more shadowing him and letting those guys get open on some intermediate stuff in behind him. So I could not be any more high on the trend of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, the way that it stands now, because it's all trending in the right direction, Jerry.
Yep. No doubt about it. My tweet of the week, I think I sent it to you actually. This is what gets me nervous about the Steelers. It's from a guy named Tommy Jaggy.
Yep.
Great Twitter name. Steelers second half drive results from week 11 to week 13. So that's 3 weeks in a row. First, the Bengals. Punt, 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 field goal, punt, punt, turnover on downs, touchdown. Versus the Colts. Punt, punt, touchdown, punt, end of game. Falcons, field goal, punt, punt. I mean, this is supposed to be a positive show. It is. That scares you. That scares you because it feels like, let's say what happens in a game, let's say this week, if Kenny doesn't get it clicking right away, the offense is stagnant to come out. Ravens go up 14-3 at the half. You know what I mean? The second half, what's going to happen? Because according to what that says, this team will get blown out. You know what I mean? They have to start fast. They have to score early to win football games. And what happens on a week if you don't do that? You're going to get blown out.
And that's what you said, and that stat and everything that I've been talking about. That's why. That is why. Because that's Matt Canada not capable of making the adjustments needed to continue success through the second half. That tells me that their defensive coordinator is significantly better than our offensive coordinator. And this is not one time. We've seen this all season. The Steelers don't get better into the second half. They get worse, Jerry. They get worse in the second half, which this is the perfect segue right into our betting segment, which I said this last week. I said, I'm taking the Steelers -1.5 in the first half because they're good in the first half, and Matt Canada is not good enough at making adjustments to be good in the second half. We've seen it enough times to fucking know. And so, ladies and gentlemen, at this point through 12 games, I have a 6-6 record. Jerry Don has a 4-8 record, and I have a 2-game lead with 5 games to go. Jerry really needs to kick it in high gear here.
Yeah.
For what we're playing for, 2 front row seats to a road game next season.
Yep.
And boy, Jerry Don, you better get it going. So I cannot wait to hear what your bet this week is.
Yeah, listen, my bet this week is it's going to lose me again most likely, but I got to take it. I got to go with my gut. He hasn't scored all season. He's in the media nonstop. He's complaining. He's dropping passes. He's dropping touchdown passes 2 weeks in a row against the Colts. And then again last week against the Falcons. Was the ball a little underthrown a little bit to Deontay? Yeah, a little bit it was. I'm taking Deontay Johnson to score a touchdown. I feel like this guy is so due. I mean, I just can't. I just can't fathom how he hasn't scored a touchdown all year. So I mean, I'm taking a chance. I'm taking a chance. And I'm gonna go with Deontay Johnson to score a touchdown. He usually does pretty well against the Ravens in years prior. So I'm gonna give Deontay another chance here. He's got to get me on the board. God just got to do it. And if he doesn't do it, guess what? He's dead to me.
You need this one so bad, Jerry.
So bad.
It's hilarious to me how bipolar you are, man. Because we ride Deontay Johnson's ass. We ride his fucking ass on here. And I rode his ass on Sunday again because he has the drops. And, and one of the things that the Steelers did in the second half that I didn't appreciate, they get into the red zone and they throw a jump ball, to the pylon on the outside to Deontay Johnson. If you're going to throw that ball, throw it to somebody we've seen go up and over the cornerback.
Yeah.
That would be where you throw it to George Pickens.
Yeah.
Single coverage, throw it out there and let Pickens go up and make a play on it. You don't throw that ball to Deontay Johnson. That's not Deontay
he's pretty
Johnson's
small.
specialty.
Deontay's small.
He's 5'10". He's not big at all. So that's not his specialty. There's no reason to be throwing that ball to him. But it's hilarious that you're going to put pretty much the season on this, because if I hit this, you're going to have to go on a run and I'm going to have to just not win another bet the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So to ride hard with Deontay Johnson, you are a bipolar betting fan, Jerry. It's funny to see.
Yep.
The spread this week, it opened up at the Steelers were 1.5 point dogs. So they were 1.5 point dogs. That was before Lamar Jackson, went down with the hip injury.
Yeah.
So now as it stands, the line is Steelers -3. Now it's plus juice. So it's plus 102 if they can cover the 3. The money line is Ravens plus 125, Steelers minus 152. So Vegas is semi-confident that the Steelers are going to win on Sunday, which is nice to hear. And then the over-under is 37 points.
Low.
Very low. And it's too low for me to touch that. I like to keep it 40 and less. I feel like is a pretty safe number, which it would have been under again, for last week's game. So you could bet the under a lot in Steelers games and make a lot of money this season. Yeah. This week, though, I'm going to ride the same bet that I rode last week. Steelers to cover 1.5 first half. It's plus 100, so it is a straight money bet. You put $100 on it, you win $100 if it hits, plus your $100 back. So that is, to me, a safe bet. Again, it's going to continue to come back to until Matt Canada makes the changes. He's not going to make the changes. I could see this being somewhere around 10-7, 10-3 at halftime. It's not as though the Ravens are going to have an electric offense out there. The Steelers are going to be able to scheme them fairly well because they don't have to worry so much about Lamar Jackson beating them with their legs. So I would see us, coming out home crowd. We should be able to win the first half. Minus 1.5 is my bet there. For those interested, it's the Barstool Sportsbook app. It's still my favorite sports betting app to date at this point. And a lot of it is just because they give you so many different bets in here, so many different player props that you can look at. If you are into the gambling, download the Barstool Sportsbook app. That's where Jerry and I do all of our gambling. We'd like to see you guys on there and tag us in some of your bets. Show us what you're betting. Tell us some bets that you think might hit. Jerry is ice cold right now, so he will take any fucking help you guys can give him. I mean, help the guy right here.
Yeah, I'm down bad. That's down bad. I mean, listen, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. Definitely not. Definitely not. Been having to struggle. Been struggling this whole year. I mean, I just can't figure out the NFL this year. I just don't get it.
It's tough, and it's been a wild year for
and I'm losing these parlays. I'm losing them by one game, and I'm just getting bamboozled.
Jerry, are you coming to town this weekend? Where are we at with that? So we were discussing it off air. It's up in the air as it stands.
I don't know. I want to go. I just feel like I'm struggling with the weather a little bit. It seems like every time I go to Pittsburgh, there's always some type of fucking weather. I can never have a dry fucking game.
It rains every time you come.
I know. I want to go to a game. I'd rather be ice cold than raining. So I'm thinking I'm not going to hit this week, but I am thinking this. I think I want to hit that Browns game.
Last game of the year.
I think I want to hit that Browns game. If it means something, I'm definitely going to be there, I think.
Last game of the year. So
Yep.
let's pray to God. Let's pray. Take a moment, pray to the football gods that the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance in the final week of the season with Deshaun Watson and the Browns that we're going to have to watch, for the next however many years with their quarterback now. They come to town. Let's fucking pray to God. We can win that game. Jerry
Oh,
Don
he
will
looks
be
like
in-house.
I would not. I'm not even worried about that game
Terrible.
because he looked like dog shit, and he's going to look like dog shit for the rest of the year
Very
because he
rusty.
just hasn't played football in over 2 years.
And it's nice to know that he didn't come out of the gates hot, so the Browns fans still have to shut the fuck up. I can't stand the shit that they talk to us at this point. But yeah, no, Jerry will, if he doesn't come this weekend to the Ravens game, hopefully we get him back out here for the Browns game. But the tailgate, again, will be in Red Lot 5A. You guys are all more than welcome to stop by yet again this week. I'm getting a little burned out on the tailgating, the travel, the tailgate, come home 3 days later, load it back up, do it again. But it's been a blast. It's been a fun season nonetheless, and we're starting to finally turn it around. So we appreciate you guys hanging with us. Hang in there, boys. There's some life left to this season, and let's hope we can turn it into something special down the road here.
Let's do it. Remember, like, comment, subscribe means a lot to us. I mean, we're doing pretty good with the views wise. We could do a little bit better. So like, comment, subscribe, put the notifications on, subscribe to the channel. We do this every week. So appreciate everybody.
Yeah, and another thing to add into that.
Oh, we didn't do a voicemail.
Yeah, let's do one right now, actually. Let's do it, because there is a fucking good one I want you to hear. So Jerry hasn't heard these yet. So I set up the account. So Jerry usually doesn't hear them in advance. So this will be a real reaction. So this was our guy, Jerry, who, you said, did you have a few drinks? And, so he called us back. He called us back last week and he said, yeah, I had a few drinks. Sorry, it was visceral right after. It was literally 3 minutes after the game ended. The Bengals lost. I was pissed. So he called us again this week, and here's what we got. Now, this is Eric in Maryland.
Kevin and Jerry, boys, how the hell are we doing? This is Eric calling from Maryland. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. Hey, what a win, man. What a win. The team looks pretty good. Obviously not the most, obviously not the most beautiful win, but hey, we got it done. Where the hell was George Pickens the entire game? Dude got 2 targets. He's our stud. Where the hell's Pat Fryermuth the rest of that game? I know that goes back to Canada being an absolutely flat dick. But hey, man, Kenny looked really good. Najee running people over, which was phenomenal. That's really, really good to see that. He's coming into form a little bit, so that's awesome. But hey, man, I mean, we can't have George Pickens coming up the field bitching about not getting the ball, right? That can't be happening. And there was one point in the second half where we're in the red zone. Deontay, false start, and then it's a draw play, shitty play calling, cool. And then he tries to go up and get a ball, can't do it. I mean, I'm completely out on Deontay Johnson at this point. Completely out on him. His negatives completely outweigh the positives. And it's really frustrating to see him get 11 targets and George Pickens getting all bent out of shape because he ain't getting the ball. I hear you, George. I completely hear you. But, hey, Kenny played awesome, man. It's really good to see him coming along, too. Back-to-back W's, boys. Love that. Appreciate the show. Be good.
That guy's funny. I like that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's a fan. Like,
Yeah.
he's pissed when we lose, and when we win, he's excited as hell again.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people are out on Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, that connection he had with Ben was pretty special. Was really special. Who knows what Deontay Johnson would have looked like early in Ben's career if he played his whole career with him.
Yep.
You had him and AB. I mean, you just never know. I feel like last game they forced him the ball a lot.
Oh yeah.
There was a couple plays that he fucked up on. I'm not totally out on the guy yet, but I think regardless of what he says, he thinks he's having a really good year. I think he's having a really, really bad year. And hopefully that changes.
Yeah, he doesn't have a touchdown. And so here's what I'll say about Deontay Johnson. Okay. And I've had some time to think about this now where, I think he's fucking good. I think he's good. I don't think he's elite. I think he is good. He's not going to be elite. And it's just not, we've seen enough now. We've seen enough. It's 4 years now. He's not elite. He's very good. Having said that, no matter how much shit we talk about him or anything we say about him, he's not going anywhere for another 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. We extended him for 2 more years. So I do want to see him fucking pick it up.
Me too.
I agree in the sense that he does fucking make mistakes because he's still dropping balls that I wish he wouldn't fucking drop. Like that one on Sunday, little crosser, 7-yard ball. You should catch that in the NFL 100 out of 100. You shouldn't drop that fucking ball right on the money, right on your hands. And he would have had at least 15 yards after the catch if he catches it.
Yeah.
It's still that type of stuff that bothers me about him. And then the drop last week on the touchdown in the Colts game. So he's also not helping himself score touchdowns. He said the right stuff, though. He said, I'm having a good year by my standards, what have you. I am going to say one thing in elite defense of him, though. I saw, in that last game and then also in the Atlanta game, where he is trying to talk to George Pickens on the sideline. He's trying to calm him down. He is doing the veteran leadership thing that we would need him to do. So as much as we chewed his ass out, it came out after we recorded, I got to see that he was doing those types of things. And I'm like, all right, so I'll step back on completely beating the guy up. But I would like to see him be better. And I agree. I think for $18 million, he should be being better than he actually is right now. But, there are a lot of things that the team was not good on early in the season, and they've been improving on through as the season has progressed, which is exciting going into next season nonetheless.
No, it is. It is. I got a question for you. I mean, I'm just looking at the screen right now. I mean, my setup right now looks like, you ever see those pornos, the couch pornos, the cast on the couch?
Couches, yeah.
Feel like I'm getting ready to hop into one of those, no?
Yeah. We're interviewing Jerry right now for the next casting couch.
I mean, some of the best pornos on the planet, mind you. Those were great pornos.
Steel here too. The steel here. Come on, Jerry.
Steel here, rock solid with JJ.
Oh, for fuck's sake. We'll end on that note. We appreciate you guys. We hope you see you again next week. If we see you at the game, say what's up. We'll go from there. But yeah, just share it where you see it. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. Appreciate it.
Later, guys.
Later, Jer.
We're here. We're still here.
We are still here.